Minister Mahinda Amaraveera said the government will not sell or lease any of the country's fisheries harbours. Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca on the war crimes charges levelled against General Jagat Jayasuriya. Mahanayak of the Malwatu chapter claims all sectors in the country have collapsed. Polythene less than 20 micron banned from today. The Newsfirst National Anti-Corruption Campaign concludes.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Bernadine Jack Singha.
And I'm Krishan Devasagam. We've got an interesting lineup of stories tonight. Let's now take a look at them in detail.
What is West Coast Private Limited? Who is behind it? Are they depriving revenue from Sri Lanka? Await another expose soon.
Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca responded to human rights violation allegations levelled against General Jagat Jayasuriya.
I insisted to the then President Mahinda Rajapaksa that Jagat Jayasuriya should not be appointed as the army commander. There were many officers who were senior to him. However, the former leader and the Defence Secretary disregarded all of the 17 senior officers and picked a junior officer to fulfill their agendas. One instance was when he took the leadership in dragging me away and throwing me into prison. When I was the commanding officer during the war, there were a number of brigades being led by a number of major generals. I went against traditions and kept these brigades under my control. At that time, when Jagat Jayasuriya was functioning as the commanding officer for Vaunia, I did not allow him to control the units that were spearheading the war. He was in charge of the bunker line in Vaunia. At that time, I received complaints that he had committed some crimes in the battlefront. He did not lead the battle, but those who are taken into custody go to him, and the complaints I received were regarding these people. I believe he continued his practices even after becoming the army commander. I still have information with regard to the crimes. If legal action is initiated against him, then I am ready to provide evidence. I don't think Jagat Jayasuriya would have ever thought that this would come to pass. I knew from the start of all the wrongdoings. I wanted to launch an investigation into it right after the war ended. A lieutenant who was assigned to assist him was taken into custody as the first step, but I was removed from the position of commander when the investigations commenced. I also have information that the former president and the former defense secretary gave their blessings for all of his actions. That is all I have to say with regard to this. We need to be rid of these allegations. We need to bring the Sri Lanka army to a respectable position in the world stage once again. There is no need to take anyone to the electric chair. The laws of the land are sufficient to take care of any criminal. Jagat Jayasuriya said that he does not even have a visa to visit his relatives, but even I don't have a visa today to go to the United States. Even when I attempted to go to the US on a cabinet matter, I was denied visa. I was denied visa not because of the charges levelled against us, but because of the wrongdoings committed by people like Jagat Jayasuriya. We did not command them to commit crime.
Thank you.
Navy Commander Vice Admiral Travis Sinaya met with Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca later on. Chief of Defence Staff Admiral Ravindra Wijegunawardena also called on Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca at the Regional Development Ministry.
Minister of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Development Mahinda Amaraveera says that fisheries harbours will not be sold to foreign nations. Addressing an event at the President's office, the minister refuted claims that attempts are being made to sell fisheries harbours to foreign nations.
Sri Lanka has 22 fisheries harbours at present. A few more are to be built in the future. I can clearly state with responsibility that not a single fisheries harbour is to be sold or given out on lease. This is a complete lie. We only plan to tie up with private institutions in order to increase the productivity of the resources near these harbours. An example for this would be providing lands where it is available for constructing pools for the breeding of fish. This will happen as long as it does not affect fishing activities of the harbour. We also plan to team up with parties who are interested in generating electricity from waters close to the fisheries harbours, as well as those who are interested in constructing cold warehouses. We have received cabinet approval for this purpose.
Today marks the second and final day of the second Indian Ocean Conference. Foreign secretaries of 3 nations came together today to speak on Indian Ocean security and cooperation.
We seek an inclusive Indian Ocean that is peaceful, stable and secure. Establishing a peaceful Indian Ocean region is essential for the long and short-term well-being of our region and the billions of people to whom this region is home. We need to create conditions, processes and procedures for cooperation so that prosperity in the Indian Ocean region will not remain just a dream for people.
We don't want the Indian Ocean to become a militarized arena for great power rivalry. But peace, stability and security do not just happen. They require collective, proactive efforts. With the global order in a state of some flux, the countries of the Indian Ocean Rim need to step up our collective efforts to shape the future of our region.
We must have a common vision for the Indian Ocean that enhances economic growth, transparent development, and regional integration. Countries must be able to effectively counter security threats in the Indian Ocean, as well as respond to humanitarian and environmental disasters. We must support a principled regional architecture that unites us to uphold international standards, including freedom of navigation and the peaceful resolution of disputes.
The keynote address on the second day of the Indian Ocean Conference was delivered by Indian Foreign Secretary Dr. S. Jaishankar.
India is today devoting greater resources and energy and assigning greater priority to building connectivity, contacts and cooperation, which is at the heart of its neighbourhood first policy. This is evident in progress in areas like power generation and transmission, rail and road transport, port and waterways transport, and in educational and health exchanges with virtually all its neighbours. In parallel, we have endeavoured to ensure the safety and security of maritime traffic through the ocean by strengthening skills and logistics of our southern neighbours like Sri Lanka, Maldives, Mauritius and Seychelles. That states with necessary capabilities have an obligation to ensure that smaller nations are made more secure through EEZ surveillance and that their full rights are established through hydrographic cooperation. We will be guided by the development and security priorities of our partners, and our approach will focus on the big picture rather than be driven by narrow reciprocal considerations.
The Hambantota port is one of the most hotly discussed topics in recent history. Will this port be used as a military port by any other nation? A former Navy commander had this to say.
The recent MOU between your country and China about Hambantota. We know that you have an important naval base close to the Hambantota port. Is it going to remain there, or under the new MOU your naval base will also move out of that region? Secondly, how does Sri Lankan Navy look at this MOU? Because we have seen in the past submarines of different countries also coming and docking at your ports. Do you foresee such things happening at Hambantota also?
The Hambantota is purely on economically that MOU with China. So nothing to do with military. We have a military base there that will continue. Strategically we have a military base, naval bases around Sri Lanka purely to monitor the shipping and other activities. We will have more, little bigger base in Hambantota since we have a slot there. So other than that, nothing to do with that. The Navy view is that we will look after the security aspect of the harbour. All the harbours in Sri Lanka, especially Colombo north and the south goal. We do the security. We are responsible. We are the designated authority for ISPs. Likewise, Hambantota also Navy. So another Navy can't come and do the ISPs or whatever the securities. You know, we are a non-aligned country. Any ship can come on a goodwill visit. So that submarine also came to Sri Lankan port after getting the diplomatic clearance. So, but only thing, the government policy is that we will never ever permit anybody to compromise somebody else's security. So generally, we have a very good relation with India.
Will that be the case? Only time will tell. Moving on in more local news now, a wet weekend is forecast with strong winds, rain, lightning and thundery conditions in several parts across the country. Hatton, Bandaravilla, Galle and other areas continue to experience heavy rainfall. The Department of Meteorology says many areas will experience showers or thunder showers during the evenings. The western, southern, Sabragamuwa and central provinces will experience rain tomorrow evening. The northern, north central, eastern and southern provinces could expect over 100 millimeters of rainfall tomorrow, while some areas will experience showers accompanied by strong winds. The general public has been requested to take precaution to minimize accidents caused by lightning.
The News First national campaign titled Sri Lanka Against Corruption, which covered all the districts in 31 days, giving an opportunity for the people to speak up against corruption, successfully marked its conclusion today.
The Sri Lanka Against Corruption walk, which commenced from opposite to the Vihara Mahadevi Park in Colombo, proceeded to the head office premises of the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited. News First members, civil organisation activists, election monitors and members of the Gammeda Savya organisation took part in the event. Religious observances were given prominence to open the proceedings. Senior lawyer Gomin Dayasri and former Dean of the Faculty of Arts at the University of Colombo, Professor Siri Hettige, addressed the gathering.
The Sirasa media showed no fear or bias to speak against corruption and discrepancies that took place under the Mahinda Rajapaksa era and the Ranil Wickremesinghe era. This is an organization that shows no fear in the face of corruption and the wrongs committed by any government. If we are to put a stop to corruption and irregularities, we must definitely bring an end to the existing parliamentary election system. Under this system, the bond scam took place. This massive fraud was first exposed by the Sirasa media and the Financial Times. The people must cast their ballot without any fear or doubt. If everyone stands together as one, I believe we will not face any obstacle.
එකසේ පෙනී සිට එක මට්ටමින් සියලු දාම හඳුන්වා සලකනවා නම් මං හිතන්නේ කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි දන්නෝ
The people who are corrupt are not only those who steal money and commit fraud. Corruption also means suitable persons not being appointed to suitable positions and institutions not steered to objectives under a certain policy. There are many white elephant projects taking place. The main cause for this is fraud and corruption.
තමයි මේ විදියට මේ දූෂණය සහ වංචාව බලපෑම. ලංකාවේ
Traveling from the north to the south, passing through 2,000 plus villages, we identified a series of issues. The key issues were related to water and roads. Sri Lanka is a country that can be developed to be sustainable and self-sufficient. The issue that we face is, how is this country going to be developed? Think for a moment. Our ancestors lived in a great civilization. We have a great irrigation and agriculture system. This is a country where people were involved in development. Therefore, we cannot have any difficulty in moving towards development with the resources that we possess.
News First members split into two groups and traversed many areas across the country, bringing the people together against fraud and corruption. The views, issues and proposals of the people collected during this initiative were handed over today to the University of Peradeniya, which will examine the findings and prepare a report. The News First's national campaign, Sri Lanka Against Corruption, commenced on the 1st of August from the north and the south simultaneously. The News First teams travelled to many villages across the 25 districts in the 9 provinces during a period of 1 month. Following are some of the views of the people who stepped forward. They have not developed a single road or a single school in Batiklo.
At a time when much needs to be done for the people, they solve their own housing matters, bring down vehicles and loot the banks. We cannot earn the salary of an MP while engaged in agriculture. The alternative for them is theft. Many MPs and ministers said they will put a stop to it, but no one has been successful. There were rogues in the former regime. They have failed to prove it. The group that claims that they will develop the country only deceives and harasses the people.
Minister of Justice and Foreign Employment Thalathathu Korala called on the chief prelate of the Malwathu chapter in Kandy this morning.
Minister Thalathathu Korala first paid homage to the sacred tooth relic and obtained its blessings. She then called on the Mahanayaka of the Malwathu chapter, the most venerable Tibbatuwawe Sri Sumangala Thera.
අපි ඉතින් බාර දීපු වගකීම උපරිම විදියටම කරන්න බලනවා නායකයන්තුනේ. ඉතින් බලාගෙන ආකල්පමය වෙනසක් අවශ්‍ය වෙලාවක්.
Following this meeting, the minister commented to the media.
Former Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa is alleged to have delayed cases. He says he did not influence the judiciary or the Aegis department. It is said he was removed because he cannot influence. You are a lawyer. Can there be influence? Is there any basis to this statement?
I believe that he was removed because he violated the collective responsibility of cabinet. If ships don't reach the Hambantota port and it is not turned into a money-making venture, it is our responsibility to develop that entity. At a time when advice had been sought from the Attorney General on certain matters, Vijayadasa Rajapaksa was removed from office because he made baseless statements. On the other hand, there is no need to influence the Attorney General because he is working in a proper manner. We have faith in him. If we do not have faith, we can discuss these matters and resolve them.
The Diriya Khatun program aimed to empower women took place today under the auspices of the Prime Minister.
This event took place at the Malabar Divisional Secretariat. We will bring investments worth $500 billion for industries which will be set up on a 400-acre zone in Kalutara. This will take around 5 years. We must all work together. By December, we need to develop 400 acres for over 100 Japanese industries which will generate 10,000 employment opportunities. After completing this, we hope to provide a similar industrial zone to Avisavella. Today, imports are higher than exports. We are indebted. When repaying debts, we encounter more issues. More jobs have been created to increase the income of the public. When the money in the wallets increase, purchases can be made at the shops and the supermarkets. You cannot simply say someone else's pockets are full just because your pockets are full. The Central Bank report for the first 6 months of this year is out. If you compare development during the first 6 months of 2016 and the same time period this year, there is a drop in all sectors. Foreign remittances have also dropped. If I am at home on a Sunday, I usually go to the Delka and the public market. This is a place that brings together people, rural and semi-urban area. We can see the prices of goods. When we see all this, we can say that the pockets of the youth are not full. Even though they said they have a plan to create 1 million jobs, they should have created at least 500,000 jobs or 300,000 by now. You need a creative plan for this and a target.
Moody's Investor Service has announced the outlook for Sri Lanka's banking system as negative, with both asset quality and profitability under pressure.
Srikanth Vadlamani, a Moody's vice president and senior credit officer, has said that the Sri Lankan economy will only see a modest growth rebound as the government's fiscal constraints continue to limit public investment and private spending despite stronger goods and services exports. Moody's conclusions are contained in its latest report, Banking System Outlook, Sri Lanka macroeconomic risks from weak fiscal position and deteriorating bank asset quality underpin negative outlook.
This statement by Moody's reflects more than the banking system, the entire financial structure of the country, because in Sri Lanka the banking industry is dominated by the state banks. So when they say the banking industry is the system, the outlook of the system is not satisfactory, it definitely has a concern or say about the state sector banks. Here is a government that depends on the banking sector rather than giving a hand to the banking sector for their survival. Now we remember during the time when Mr. Ravi Karunayaka was the Minister of Finance last year, there was a claim that he sent a request to all the three state banks to make a very big, huge contribution of their reserves, of their profits as dividends to the Ministry of Finance to tide over the difficulties of the government at that time. It was a drain of their profits and the reserves into the treasury. The current situation leading to this poor rating is a cause of the poor financial management of the Ministry of Finance. When there is a poor rating on the banking system of a country, definitely it has its repercussions on the foreign investments, foreign direct investments, and also the businesses that can come into the country, all will be affected down the line as a consequence of this state of affairs.
This is a reminder of another irregularity that could equal the alleged central bank bond scam.
Yesterday, Newsfirst revealed to you the irregularities pertaining to the tender process of the 32.5 kilometer stretch of the Central Highway from Puthuhara to Galagedara. We revealed that while 4 companies had expressed interest in constructing this stretch of the Central Highway, 2 of those companies had forwarded their bids. The bid forwarded by Fujita Corporation was rejected by the project committee due to a lack of experience in key areas. It was the bid of Taisei Corporation that remained at the end. Fujita Corporation failed to exercise their right of appeal against their disqualification. A letter sent by an advisor to the government of Japan states that Fujita Corporation, whose bid was rejected, is a company with experience in the field of highway construction. However, the project committee was of the opinion that this company was not suitable as it failed in key specific areas. In addition, a letter sent by the Japanese ambassador to Sri Lanka explained the stance of the government of Japan. It stated, quote, Japan fully respects the Sri Lankan rules and procedures for tenders carried out by the government of Sri Lanka, including for the 3rd section of the Central Highway, and is in no position to raise objections to the results of a lawful tender procedure, unquote. Minister Lakshman Kiriyalla presented a cabinet memorandum in which he ignored the decision of the project committee and the cabinet-appointed negotiating committee, and wanted cabinet approval to award the bid to Taisei Corporation in collaboration with Fujita Corporation, who were originally disqualified. However, the project committee's concluding decision originally was as follows, quote, the disqualification of the bid of Fujita Corporation within the present procurement process is inevitable. Abating the qualification criteria after submission of bids to qualify a certain bidder is not acceptable since it affects the transparency, consistency of the evaluation and selection procedure and hence will lead to criticism. End of quote. In the event that this bid is not stopped and fresh tenders called, it is likely that this project will have a similar negative impact on the people of this country, rather like the bond gate. Over to you, Mr. President.
Indian External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj called on President Maithripala Sirisena at the President's official residence in Colombo today.
The Indian External Affairs Minister is in the country to attend the Indian Ocean Conference in Colombo. At the meeting, President Maithripala Sirisena emphasized the importance of regional countries working to ensure the security of the Indian Ocean, which is a very important resource. The President highlighted that the Indian Ocean is an important transportation route to meet the economic and energy requirements of the regional countries, and it has a direct impact on the people of the region. The Indian Minister of External Affairs said India will be committed to expedite the proposed new bilateral economic proposals that aim to meet the betterment of people from both nations. Swaraj notes any issue can be resolved with ease due to the sound relationship and mutual political status between both Sri Lanka and India. South Korean Vice Foreign Minister Cho Byung-jae, who is leading the Korean delegation to the Indian Ocean Conference, also called on President Sirisena today. Discussions were focused on taking successful steps to enhance the mutual economic relations between the two countries.
Professor Carlo Fonseca made a visit to the magazine prison in Burala to inquire the well-being of student activist Ryan Jalat, who is in custody.
The M in Saitam was for management. As time passed, it became medicine. I was made chairman of the SLMC in 2012. 2 years into the job, I realized the education provided did not meet the required standards. I sent a secret letter to Mahinda Rajapaksa claiming if that continues, the present situation would dawn. I explained that to him.
After giving up the post of chairman of the Sri Lanka Medical Council, Carlo Fonseca comes out and says that he wrote a secret letter to Mahinda Rajapaksa saying that Saitam will turn into a massive issue. The country is paying for the sins of Mahinda Rajapaksa. When someone asks, he says he doesn't remember. He says he is the chairman of the SLFP. This is an ailment. When Carlo Fonseca held the position, he should have thought to himself that Mahinda Rajapaksa is exerting pressure and that it is not good to remain in this position. He could have resigned at that time if he knew that an issue was brewing. Why is he making such a statement now? He remained in the position due to the greed for power and wrote secret letters. This country cannot develop or move ahead as long as people like this are present.
News First has learned the unedited backup from the telephone recording system at Perpetual Treasuries Limited has been handed over to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry. Zuvik Fazan reports on Bondgate.
Nuwan Salgado, the chief dealer at Perpetual Treasuries Limited, tendered the 4 DVDs said to contain the unedited backup data. News First learns the Commission will examine them and ascertain whether those contain the original material or the edited material. The issue on PTL phone conversations occurred when the Attorney General's Department observed discrepancies and missing conversations from the 240,000 voice recording clips submitted by PTL for examination. Sachit Devatantri, the senior IT executive officer at PTL, testified yesterday that it was Nuwan Salgado who instructed him to delete certain voice recordings from the system.
The Extraordinary Gazette prohibiting the manufacture and sale of polythene or any polythene product of 20 microns or below in thickness was issued today. The Gazette, which was issued under the Ministry of Mahavili Development and Environment, notes that the manufacture of food containers, plates, cups and spoons from expanded polystyrene for usage in the country will be prohibited from today. Following the ban on polythene products, the All Ceylon Canteen Owners Association announced that it will increase the price of a lunch packet by 10 rupees, citing the failure to introduce an alternative. Moving on now, on Monday this week, News First reported on the government's claims to be partnering with reputed international universities such as the Massachusetts Institute of Technology or MIT to develop such a university in Sri Lanka.
We received confirmation from MIT that they had no plans to venture into such a project in Sri Lanka. Today, News First received confirmation from the University of California, Berkeley, that this establishment also does not have any such agreement in place. The Executive Director, Communications and Media Relations, Rogue Montes, writes, quote, "I want to be very clear that there is no agreement or commitment of any kind from UC Berkeley or MIT at this stage." On the 3rd of August, the state-run Daily News published an article titled, PPP for Berkeley, MIT-style campus here. The Daily News reported that the cabinet proposal in this regard has been made by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, adding that the university would be set up under a public-private partnership. Similar claims of international partnerships have been made in the past. In January this year, we began reporting on a vehicle assembly plant in Kuliyapitiya which members of the ruling party claimed would be linked to German automaker Volkswagen. However, News1st revealed Volkswagen International had no plans for Volkswagen brand investments in Sri Lanka. It was also revealed that VW had not licensed any Sri Lankan company to assemble cars locally.
With that, we wrap up Primetime News. I'm Bernadine Jayasinghe.
And I'm Krishant Devitsagayam. Take care and good night.